Well, welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che here to provide you with the latest. Let's start with the headlines. Reports say a top North Korean diplomat in Russia reportedly fled his post last month. Around the same time, the North's #2 man in the UK abandoned his South Korea, attributes the recent string of defection to instability in the regime. The vice chairman of Lotte Group, due to be questioned by prosecutors over alleged embezzlement, takes his own life. A note left behind denies the existence of an alleged slush fund at the group. President Park Geun-hye attends a celebration of the first anniversary of Korea's innovation centers, which has already attracted more than $250 million in investment and supported nearly 3,000 startups and small companies. Well, it seems like more high-level North Korean officials stationed abroad are deciding to flee. Seoul says the reason behind such defections is the growing internal instability and a feeble power base in Kim Jong-un's regime. Some experts, however, suggest otherwise, saying the high-profile defection actually reflect stability in the regime, as only those living abroad are choosing to flee. Connie Kim starts us off.
North Korea's recent string of high-profile defections has led to speculations on whether the Kim Jong-un regime has become unstable enough to have high-level officials lose their loyalty to Kim and abandon their posts. South Korea says it's a weakening internal power base that has largely been attributing to such defections.
The stream of defections is the result of Kim Jong-un strengthening his power base with his politics of fear and the regime's growing internal instability.
Following the confirmation of North Korean Deputy Ambassador to Britain Tae Yong-ho's defection last week, a trade representative under Pyongyang's Consulate General in Russia's Vladivostok is also reported to have fled in July. However, noting that the defecting high-level officials are only those stationed overseas and not the people inside the north, some experts claim that the Kim Jong-un regime in fact has become more stable than ever. A North Korean defector in South Korea says Kim will likely focus on improving people's lives within the regime to prevent defections, but that move could eventually be counterproductive for the people.
Kim will likely improve livelihoods by allowing them to conduct economic activities more freely, but then the people would have to pay more taxes, which in turn would be a huge burden and barrier for them to improve their economic status.
At the same time, the experts add that what Kim does inside the regime's borders won't stop North Korean workers overseas from inevitably facing the reality of North Korea's international isolation in the face of its continued provocations, meaning there will likely be more defections of senior-level officials in the near future. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Seoul and Washington six-party talks representatives decided to meet for talks over North Korea's missile upgrades very soon. UNSC members are mulling over a statement that could be issued in condemnation of Pyongyang's latest submarine-launched ballistic missile test. Kwon So-hwa tells us more.
The special representatives for the six-party denuclearization talks from South Korea and the U.S. are expected to put their heads together to confront the ongoing threats from North Korea. According to a diplomatic source Friday, Seoul and Washington are arranging a meeting to take place in Seoul early next month. Seoul's Foreign Ministry's Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs, Kim Hong-kyun, and U.S. Special Representative on North Korean Policy, Sung Kim, were said to have agreed to swiftly hold a meeting during a phone conversation Thursday, a day after North Korea test-fired an SLBM into the East Sea, which was deemed a successful launch. The top envoys on North Korea are expected to look into additional measures to deal with Pyongyang's latest missile test, as well as discuss how to deal with the North's apparent reprocessing of plutonium to make nuclear weapons. With the U.S. government having implied that extra sanctions on the regime cannot be ruled out, there's a chance that the discussions will evolve around raising the pressure on Pyongyang by another notch. That's also aimed on the UN Security Council front. A source said Friday the U.S. put together a draft statement condemning North Korea that's being reviewed by the other council members, meaning they are now in a so-called silence procedure. The 15-member UN Security Council swiftly got together for an emergency meeting Wednesday to discuss North Korea's recent missile test. Kwon So-hwa, Arirang News.
The vice chairman of Korean retail giant Lotte Group took his own life today. Lee In-won was to be questioned by prosecutors this morning as part of the ongoing probe into the group's irregularities. Kim Hye-sung keeps us up to date with what the investigators have discovered.
Lotte Group Vice Chairman Lee In-won was found dead Friday morning on a walking trail in Yangpyeong, south of Seoul. His body was discovered by a passerby just past 7 a.m. local time, 2 hours before he was scheduled to be questioned by Seoul prosecutors as a suspect in a criminal investigation into Lotte Group. Police say it appears he hanged himself. To identify the exact cause of Lee's death, police authorities say they will conduct an autopsy and hold a briefing at a later time. Lee's handwritten will was found in his car near the walking trail. In the 4-page letter to his family and Lotte Group employees, he said, "I'm sorry for leaving early at this difficult time. The so-called secret slush fund does not exist." The 69-year-old was Lotte Group Chairman Shin Dong-bin's right-hand man. Since joining the company in 1973, he held key positions in policy coordination or the control tower of the group, making decisions on investments as well as mergers and acquisitions. Prosecutors believe Lee, along with Lotte Group President Hwang Gak-kyu and Head of External Relations So Jin-se, who were summoned on Thursday and August 15th respectively, are 3 key members involved in the group's alleged embezzlement and creation of multi-million-dollar slush funds. Soon after news of Lee's suicide broke, prosecutors released a statement saying they were saddened by his death and would reschedule the investigation accordingly. High-level officials at Lotte Group are discussing follow-up measures, and there are expectations Lee's suicide will slow down the wide-reaching probe into the group's irregularities. Kim Hye-sung, Arirang News.
Moving on to other stories now. To mark the anniversary of the nation's Innovation Center Network, a festival celebrating the startup movement is held. While noting their achievements, President Park Geun-hye also suggested new tasks that will enable the centers to take a leading role on the global stage. Song Ji-sun takes us there.
Korea's innovation centers are the backbone of President Park's creative economy drive, providing one-stop services for new startups and helping them enter overseas markets. Less than a year since the nation's 17 centers were launched, the network has supported over 2,800 startups and small-sized companies, while attracting over $250 million in investment. President Park Geun-hye on Friday opened a festival highlighting all of the achievements these centers have accomplished over the past year. In her remarks, she said the innovation centers, which have led the way in fostering startups in Korea, must now act as a platform for sharing best practices and creating synergy among different regions and across resources.
창업 여건이 우수한 지역은 대표적 창업 거점으로 육성하고 성공적으로 지역 특화 사업을 추진 중인 지역은 전국적인 지원이 가능하도록 플랫폼 기능과 역량을 강화해야 합니다.
Startups nurtured at these centers have debuted on the international stage at places like the Mobile World Congress and have also received support from foreign accelerators. The system has also been exported to South America and the Middle East as a model of an innovative economy.
혁신센터들을 중심으로 변화와 혁신의 열기를 확산시키고 그 기운을 해외로까지 힘차게 뻗어내서 대한민국의 새로운 미래를 함께 만들어 나가기를 기대합니다.
President Park also said that to link the startup movement to job creation, these startup centers must work as a platform for employment by matching emerging startups with qualified personnel in cooperation with regional businesses and schools. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Korea's 3 major political parties have resumed their deliberations on the government's supplementary budget plan. Hopes are high the fund will breathe fresh life into Korea's sluggish economy. Ji Myung-gil has the latest from the National Assembly.
The ruling Saenuri Party welcomed the resumption of the Assembly's Special Committee on Budget and Accounts on Friday.
I once again asked the Budget Committee to fast-track the review of the bill. The central and local governments should get ready to release the funds before the Chuseok holiday and draw up next year's budget plan.
Chung also thanked the opposition parties for their support in agreeing to call a vote on the budget bill on August 30th. The party says the multi-billion-dollar budget supplement will help invigorate Korea's stagnant economy in the fourth quarter, in part by supporting the restructuring of the ailing shipbuilding and shipping industries, which involves recapitalizing state-run banks. The minor opposition People's Party echoed the ruling party's view, saying that continued deadlock over the bill would only have hurt the economy.
The economy will not get better straight away, but the extra budget plan was an inevitable choice for the economy.
Meanwhile, the main opposition Minjoo Party of Korea urged the two parties to compromise on the witness list for an upcoming hearing next month on the restructuring of the shipbuilding and shipping industries. The opposition bloc wants to find out the truth behind the government's decision to pump billions of dollars of taxpayer money into the financially troubled Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering last year. Kim Young-kit, Arirang News.
Korea's main opposition, Minjoo Party of Korea, is preparing to select a new leader at its national convention this weekend. Shin Se-min lists out the potential candidates that will be looked to by members to bring about a change in government at next year's presidential election.
There are three candidates running to lead the main opposition Minjoo Party. Lee Jong-gul and Chu Mi-ae, both fifth-term lawmakers, and Kim Sang-gon headed the Minjoo Party's reform initiatives last year. All three are vowing to lead the party out of the factionalism that has plagued it in recent years and put it on a path to victory in the 2017 presidential election. In recent years, the party has been dominated by two major factions, one loyal to the late President Roh Moo-hyun and another loyal to former party leader and presidential candidate Moon Jae-in. Candidates Kim and Chu are considered to be part of the Moon faction, while Lee Jong-gul is an independent. Despite their similarities, there are some subtle differences in their campaign pledges. Lee is somewhat more focused on the presidential election than his rivals, while Kim is concentrating on the internal divisions within the party, and Chu is seeking to recover support from the Honam region, which is the opposition party's stronghold. The region overwhelmingly supported the minor opposition People's Party during the general election in April. The vote to elect the next party chief will be held this Saturday at 1 p.m. when all party members will gather for the National Leadership Convention at Olympic Stadium in Seoul. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Korea's consumer sentiment showed improvement again this month, marking a high not seen since late last year. This comes despite lingering concerns about the government's corporate restructuring drive. Oh Jung-hee breaks down the numbers for us.
Korea's consumer sentiment hit an 8-month high in August. The Bank of Korea says the composite consumer sentiment index came in at 102 for this month, the same figure as last December. That's up 1 point from July when the reading bounced back above 100. The index shows an improvement for the second consecutive month after the readings in May and June came in below 100 due to the government's corporate restructuring drive, which triggered fears of massive layoffs in the country's shipping and shipbuilding industries. A reading above 100 means optimists outnumber pessimists. The monthly index reflects consumers' outlook on the economy, their living conditions, and future spending plans. The central bank says the rosier outlook on the economy comes after Standard & Poor's decision to upgrade Korea's credit rating from AA- to AA, with a stable outlook on the country's steady growth and flexible fiscal and monetary policy. Korea now has the same rating as Britain and France and is 1 higher than China and 2 higher than Japan. The government's expansionary fiscal policy, including a proposed budget supplement currently pending at the National Assembly, also contributed to boosting the expectations for the economy. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Over in quake hit Italy, a 4.3 magnitude tremor rattled the already devastated central region of the country on Thursday afternoon local time. Round-the-clock rescue efforts have been ongoing to find survivors trapped under the ruins of collapsed villages. However, hundreds of aftershocks since Wednesday's 6.2 magnitude quake are hampering those efforts, and the death toll is continuing to rise. At least 250 people are now known to have died, and more than 300 were injured so far. These are the stories we're following at this hour. More updates coming your way at 10 p.m. Korea time, so do tune in then. For now, thank you for watching.